Alrighty, we are back with another installment of the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast, where I am your host, Nathan Cabrera, and the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast keeps it real about the highs and lows in life. We dive into raw conversations about failures, comebacks, and the lessons that turn setbacks into success. Whether you're grinding through a challenge or celebrating a win, this show is here to remind you it's all a part of the journey. Expect real stories, unfiltered insights, and maybe a few laughs along the way. Tune in and get inspired to your trip-ups and turning them into triumphs. We're turning the page on your trip-ups, guys. This is season 2, and we're continuing through. Guys, I know you've been watching my videos. A lot of people actually have, which has been amazing. I'm not just talking about the episodes, of course, which I greatly appreciate. Shout out to those using Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Those are the more viewed sources of viewership and listenership. So thank you for that. Also, we are available on Spotify and Amazon Podcasts. Super easy. You can look up Trip Ups Podcast or Trip Ups and Triumphs Podcasts anywhere online. You'll find us somehow, some way. If you can't find us, then I'm not doing a great job. I'm also re-editing the website to make it more user-friendly. Also be able to view the previous season and everything right in there. Expanding on that and then some. Establishing community. It's been fun. And of course, we have plenty of people that are lined up in the next couple weeks, interviews that are out of this world. But I just want to thank all of the listeners here. And if you're just listening to the very first time, there is just so much to unpack every episode. And I talk about real stuff, real things, obviously, that I've gone through. You've been able to hear a lot about my story, things that I've been dealing with in the past, the present, and well, we're not dealing with the future stuff yet because I still got to deal with all the other crap, you know? But it's been really great. I've been seeing all the comments. I really appreciate the shares. That is one thing that you can do for the podcast is share. It is free. You know, this is something that I do because of my love for it. And it's been something that has been burdening in my heart for quite some time. And to be able to put that out into the space and make it come to fruition has just been really gratifying, and I'm just so grateful for that. I'm always enamored by who tells me, messages me that they're watching, they're listening. So I thank you. I don't take it for granted. I want to make sure that this podcast is of high quality, of great value to you, all parts of your life. And I think if you've ever gone through anything, that this is the podcast for you. I don't know anyone that hasn't suffered through some type of trip up, some type of challenge, some pain that has happened along the way. So yeah, we're going to get right into it. So I didn't think that I would be covering this topic, especially because I'm so bad at it. No, it depends on how you look at it. We all define this word very differently, and we look at it in many different ways. And it has caused us to do many a dumb things. And it's all because we think we know what it is and how it is and all that have you. But first off, I'm calling this episode, What's Love Got to Do With It? Got to do with it. There's no auto-tune on that, by the way. And yeah, I was probably a little bit flat. But as you know, that I've been taking vocal lessons, but I've always had a passion for music, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to use part of my life and my time to do things that I actually enjoy doing. I encourage you to do that because it makes a big difference. It brings joy to your heart. You're prioritizing yourself a little bit, and who doesn't want to have a little fun? Honest fun. What's love got to do with it? Literally everything. When you think about love, when you think about when you've been in love, what you love, being in love, feeling loved, and vice versa, the unloved, what it's like to not love, to not be loved, to want and desire love. And it could be in relationships. We're talking about intimate and non-intimate. These are friendships. These are in a relationship, dating, when you're interested in someone else, wanting to take things to the next level. And there's that family love, that love that you expect from your parents, your siblings, the ones that kind of have to love you, or you would think, right? I'm always really interested in covering this topic because I'm a very observant person. Don't misconstrue it as being judgmental. I'm the last person to judge anybody. Anybody that truly knows me. That's why I'm going to knock the socks off of this one person, and they know who they are. When they said that I was judgmental, I was like so taken back. But we recently talked those things over and agreed that they misspoke a little bit. They did things out of emotion, and yeah, we do that. That's another story for another day. But as we know, love is unique, and judging is something that I do not do for the most part. I'll tell you though. I'll tell you if I'm judging you. I'll literally say it. But we also act in a certain way because we're afraid or in fear of being judged. But anyway, love, I pulled up the definition, is a complex, multifaceted emotion and behavior characterized by deep affection, intimacy, passion, and commitment towards another person, animal, or concept. So you can love singing. You can love your dog. You can love another person and not be involved with another person. It acts as a powerful bond involving trust and care, often evolving from initial intense passion into a steadier, long-term, companionable attachment. Oof, that word attachment is starting to creep into my system, into my soul right now because I've got attachment issues. I'm quite the anxious, attached individual, and that's something that I'm working on. It has strong biological, psychological, and social foundations. Holy moly. And that's why, like, this is the perfect thing to cover for the Trips Ups and Triumphs podcast, because we have all been there in a place where we've tripped up because of this word love and how it's functioned or not functioned in our lives. And it's quite powerful. It can be intrusive. It can be controlling. It can change our thoughts, seemingly, right? Because of this freaking feeling, these emotions. And some of us hate feeling it. They want to bury it. They don't want to deal with it. And then some of it, times it just feels so good that we crave it, and we base our whole lives surrounding this idea of love. I mean, think about it. When you are a child, when you are super young, you are looking for that nurturing. You're looking for that affection. And innately, we tie it to love, right? Naturally, we're supposed to feel loved by those that birthed us, our parents. And for those of us that did not have the most spectacular parents and they abandoned us or rejected us because of their absence, maybe it was physically, they were incarcerated. Maybe they left this earth, or they never came back with the milk. I know I always got to throw in a joke in there. I'm sorry if it cuts too deep. But already we start to, from that moment on, if we don't have that healthy sense of love, we start looking for it in other places so that we can achieve the feelings of love. And holy moly, like, if that doesn't relate to me, it does. But hopefully it relates to you. And you can think of those initial moments where you were like, yeah, I loved this experience. I loved this moment. My parents made me feel safe, or vice versa. My parents made me feel unsafe, or they were emotionally unavailable, or I was not the favorite child, right? There's so many things that you can think about. And first off, second of all, what isn't love? Because I can tell you what it's definitely not. That is something that I can't do. I'm a pro at that. I might suck at relationships, and I'll tell you why. People always say, well, Nathan, why are you single? You're such a great man. Yeah, I'm great at self-sabotaging, so welcome. But also there's so many other pieces, it takes two to tango in that regard. And sometimes we're not prioritizing those things. I didn't prioritize that type of love for the first half of my life, and then some. And then when I finally got into learning it, I had all this other learned behavior and reactions towards love and ineffective ways on how to receive it and how I did receive it, and misconstrued mindsets. And in some ways I still do. And I fight really hard in developing new coping and attachment, one that's strong and healthy, to achieve this satisfactory version of love and not the lies that my nervous system tells myself what love is. Because let me tell you, in some cases, y'all, my love has a tendency to be quite needy and doesn't know how to let go and let loose. Very uptight, very anxious, very untrusting. But it's a no-brainer. Look at my past. Look at my trauma. Look at my experiences. It's not an excuse. It's just somewhere in there, there's that 5-year-old Nathan. Somewhere in there, there's that 12-year-old Nathan, 15-year-old Nathan. Fill in the blanks for you. Maybe your name is Tammy. 5-year-old Tammy, Lisa, Jordan, Nicholas, Michael is in there. You just brought them with you to whatever age you are now. And it's crazy, right? So people think love is sex, marriage, babies, gifts. But guys, remember, those things are not love. We may seek those things in hopes to gain it, you know? That's how addicts are formed, or unhealthy or toxic relationships are formed, or, you know, babies being born for the sake of keeping things together. Those are benefits of love. They're the add-ons, they're the additions, they're the pluses, the bonus points of love, but that's not the definition of love. Many would say that love is a verb, and most of us were never taught what it actually looks like. We have so many unhealthy versions of what love is, and what a great ploy in this life to get us distracted and dysfunctional and causing chaos by diminishing the word and misconstruing its representation of what it's supposed to be and what it symbolizes. Some of us have confused attention with affection, chemistry with commitment, and physical connection with real love. Can I just say this? Just because you stick yo thing-a-lang and a thangy thing doesn't mean you love somebody. It does not. For some of you, that may be very hard to hear, especially if like that's what holds the relationship together, or what you're defining as why this person has fallen out of love with you. That can really thwart feelings and emotions when that variable, sex, is involved. Like, let's be real. Our minds, our chemistry, when we are feeling that intensity and intimacy, I ain't gonna lie, it changes you. It affects you. And if it doesn't, then, you know, the person's done a really good job of blocking it. And also most definitely doesn't feel like that is love, because there's a lot of times in a relationship where, or in a situationship where someone's just doing it for fun and they're just doing it to appease and get relief. And that's their way of escapism and coping, while the other one's thinking like, oh my gosh, this person's so in love with me. They want me, da 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 da. I know some people that are like desperate for that type of affection. And I'm not pointing the finger, I'm not judging, right? Because I've definitely been there, where if it's not wanted or not right now, I'm thinking, what the heck is wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? What did I do? All these different things that start rolling in my head. And let me tell you, I go nuts, go crazy. But yeah, that doesn't make you, like, the same way as making a baby does not make you a parent. You have to be involved. You have to do your part, do your job. Fellas, don't walk out on your families. Ladies too. Yeah, but I just wanted to clarify, like, some of those actions are not love. Like, there's so much more to love. So here's the core thesis, that love drives behavior even when we don't realize it. So people chase validation because they want to feel chosen. Hello, right? Like, I know there's times where I've tried to change relationship styles with people, and it sometimes doesn't work out because we're not on the same page. And I want to feel chosen. And that was the only way that I felt chosen, was if you were involved with me. When have you chased validation because you wanted to feel chosen? And it doesn't even have to be like with sex. Like, it could be any sort of validation, right? You want kudos, you want praise, you want that star next to your name, right? Because it validates. It's just like a degree, like that validates you as someone who has done the work, the studying, the commitment to that focus area. And then hustle culture sometimes comes from wanting approval, right? So a lot of times, like, we just work ourselves to death, you know. Families, some of us can be really notorious for overworking ourselves to death because we want to be providers so badly for our families, and they never get a chance to actually experience us because you're so preoccupied. You don't have a chance to actually be present for those that you love. You know, there's been many a times where gifts are given in replacement for quality time. even if that's your love language of receiving gifts, no one's going to remember that all these gifts when they're going to be focused on, man, like you weren't around for all of these important moments that you could have been in my life for, whether it was graduation, whether it was special birthday party or wedding or whatever it is that's worth celebrating. And those are extreme ones. There's even smaller things that, if they're a priority to you, make it known, because people aren't mind readers. But if you love somebody, show up, show up. And then toxic relationships often come from the fear of losing love. Oh my gosh, that hits me right in the heart. I promised myself that I wasn't going to cry today. I did already cry earlier today, but I ain't crying on my podcast again, at least not today. Not this time. I almost cried before I kirked out at the UPS man. Forgive me. No, they were nice, but I've been waiting for a package. This is day 2, and they try to come back tomorrow because there's like this window of time they were supposed to be here between 4:30 and 6:30. I literally was home all day, and I left for 30 minutes. Could you believe that they showed up in that 30 minutes, which wasn't even the window of time that they were supposed to be here? Anyway, subject for another day. I did get my stuff. I raised Kane on the phone. I said, look, they need to make their way back. I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, when you don't feel loved, you start performing for it. If that's not the truth. I was just recently there, and I'm not proud of it. I seek love in so many different areas that it is mind-boggling how much love can control me. So, sex doesn't equal love. Marriage does not prove love. Having a baby does not equal emotional connection. Gifts don't equal presents. You already heard what I said. But like I said, again, in a more PG friendly way, just because body parts connect doesn't mean hearts did. So if we're thinking about the different types of love that we experience and don't experience, there's that parental love, there's that friendship love, and there's that romantic love, right? So let's get into the parental love. Kids remember presents more than presents, gifts. Time equals that emotional safety. So when parents, have you felt emotionally safe when you were a child? When have you given your child that emotional safety that they need? They needed you, or they need you. They need that love. Love isn't what you just buy your kids. It's what they feel when they sit next to you. Do you know? Can you sit here right now and think, when you have your child sitting next to you, whether they come home from school or maybe they're a preschool age, when they're sitting next to you, what do you think is going on in their mind when they sit next to you? What are they feeling? Are they feeling that emotional safety? Maybe they're showing it by a hug, looking back into your eyes. What's going on there? And if you didn't experience that parental love, give yourself a hug right now. I'm so sorry. I know what it's like to not receive that when you needed it, and it has caused you so much pain even now, and you don't even realize it. Some of you do. And you look back to those times and say, why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't they love me? Why did my parents walk out on me? Why did they give me up? Why did they turn to drugs? Was it my fault? Was the burden too heavy? Was I too much? I promise you, you weren't too much. They were just dealing with their own pain, and they didn't know how to love correctly. And maybe they weren't loved correctly. Friendship love. This is listening without fixing. I tend to have an issue with this because I just want to fix and solve everything so badly. And I know some of my friends are probably nodding their head like, yes, like sometimes Nathan, just shush. This is why the podcast is the perfect thing for a talkative person. But listening without fixing, sometimes they don't even want you to fix it. They just want to vent. Are you being a good friend? Do you have good friends around you? I think a lot of the great ways to garner great friendships and good friends is to be a good friend yourself. Now, I've been guilty of being a poor friend, and a lot of people in my life will beg to differ. But for my reasons, it's about like closeness. I don't have, and this is what's funny, is like I'm super vulnerable here, but in general, in my life up until this point, I wasn't vulnerable. People don't know me. They just see the one side of happy, happy, joy, joy all the time. And that's not authentic. That is not really me all the time. Like I go through mood changes. I suffer in silence. I deal with crap. And I couldn't be a great friend to people because I was afraid for them to look at me and judge me, and having to deal with my stuff and feeling like I'm in the way. But do you ever listen without fixing when it comes to having those conversations with your friends, your loved ones? You love your friends. Showing up consistently, right? Just being a consistent person, knowing what they're going to get out of you. Don't be that friend where you're not reliable. You can't be called on. You find out something later and you're like, hey, why didn't you reach out to me? I'm around, da 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 da. Well, you didn't show up for this. I called you for that. I checked in on you. I text you just to say hello. And it fizzles out, right? Those types of relationships work two ways. All relationships, anything. That's why there's relation. Relation is with more than one. So are you investing in those friendships that you want so bad? And why do we do this? We just don't want to be alone, right? Like a lot of us don't want to be alone. And even if you're an introvert, to some extent, there's times where you want to get out of your own bubble. Your social battery might be quite different than an extrovert like mine that wants to be all the way around. Show up consistently for that person. It's not to say every day, all day, you got to be on the phone, all this and that, but especially for the big moments, try. That's half the battle right there. And then calling someone higher without shaming them. This could be, interpreted in a number of different ways. Calling on a higher power to um, pray for them. It could be calling on someone that is more equipped or better to handle the situation, and even not shaming yourself to deal with these things because you feel like you're going to be, again, too much. Your friends will be more than happy to deal with it. I am so grateful for great friends that might not be there for every type of instance, but for specific instances of need, they're there. And that's such a beautiful thing. We don't always have tons of friendships, but can you name one? And if you can't, we will figure it out. I'm great at matchmaking, and it ain't just for relationships that are intimate. I'm talking about friendships too. I know enough people. I'm going to get you some friends. I might not be that person for you, and that's okay. We might not have anything that, in common. I'm not saying we can't be friends because I love everybody, but there might be someone that could do a better job. And then here's the one that I hate. It's romantic love. And I joke. Funny enough, I went to a singles event a couple weeks ago, and I did it to get out of my shell again and just kind of just be a participant. I don't feel like I'm ready for another relationship. That is a lot. I still feel like I'm working on myself. We're always going to be working on ourselves till the day we die, but just emotionally right now, I don't think I could handle it. And I have some spite about a couple things that I need to work on for sure. And I'm working out some other kinks. I just love people. Yeah, I've cried about that in the last month too, but I went to the singles event. It was a grand time, of course. It tends to be majority women, but it made it easier for me to make connections, that's for sure. And I definitely could have walked out with dates aplenty, but I didn't want to set people up for time with Nate not at his best and just being whiny, self-destruct, sabotage. But there was definitely some people there that caught my attention. So it was fun though. It was just a great way. And I need to teach my nervous system not to go from 0 to 100. Because a lot of times I'll be like, oh gosh, what? This person, I have to commit and all this other stuff right away. Calm down, Nate. You're just going out for coffee. So I've been working on that as well. Sorry if I hit you up for coffee recently. And by the way, I've only asked one person out recently for coffee. Still waiting for her to connect with me. So, hi. There should be no shame or harm in just doing that. No intentions. Set expectations from the get-go. I've been bad at that in the past. And when things are more clearly defined, things turn out at least a little bit better so that people are on the same page or won't be surprised when you're thinking the same way or not thinking the same way because you've already addressed them. And in my last relationship, I will say I did kind of try to label and set expectations from the get-go, and they were not as interested in defining. But that's a reason for them to answer. I can't answer why. There was some misalignment there with timing and rushing, but it ended up working out for whatever way undefined, and then it didn't. Because I'm really good at self-sabotaging. Romantic love. Love isn't an adrenaline. I know you can have butterflies, but it's not just an adrenaline. Love is accountability and peace. Like that's what it is. It's hard. It's next level. Real love is hard work. Let's admit it. It ain't Disney princess storybook time. It ain't like, ooh, love at first sight. I mean, it could, but no, that's more like something else. Okay, that's something else. It ain't love. Get that out of your head. It ain't love. Whew. Guys, I've alluded to it, and I talked a little bit about it, in episode 1 of this season. I don't think I got into too much detail. I'll go into a little further in the near future. And even then, I'll be tasteful about it because I don't think everyone needs to know everything about everything. And plus, I don't want to like drag on um, parts of my life that I really try to put behind. But I'll be honest, I've seek love. And what I say that in, sorry, I say love in quotations because I didn't know what love was. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Right. But I sought love through hookups and those validation cycles. Like I fed off of it. It fed my ego, my pride, my adrenaline, and being wanted. I really felt like these, whether it was gaslighting, whether it was compliments, whether it was the frequent contacting and the frequent meetups was just so amazing. And it really wasn't healthy. Yeah, seeking love through hookups and validation was really just one of the most harmful things that I've had to experience. It's defiling myself. It's devaluing myself. It is part of my low self-esteem, and it has been a severe challenge in my life. And it didn't even take up a large portion of it, but because of what I've known to get validation growing up as a child, that is all I knew through my abuses, through my trauma, through my rape. I'm really hard on myself. However, I'm trying to be more graceful and forgiving. I'll be honest, it really F's you up. It really changes you. First thing I'll just say is like get help if you haven't gotten professional help, if you've been a victim in that way. But it has really affected on how I perceive love and affection from other people and where I've turned to for it, how I engage with men, how I engage with women. It has just been really topsy-turvy. And it is one thing that I really need to, shake off those reminiscing moments or areas where I'm like, well, this is how I get what I need. And that might be true, but that is literally my 5-year-old and my 12-year-old, my 15-year-old self talking, and it's frustrating. What I'll say is don't seek love through those hookups and those validation cycles. Like, let's find solid relationships. How can we do that? How do you do that? First, think about your non-negotiables. What things really do you value? And do you value yourself? You got to ask yourself that. And then when you want connection, don't confuse it the like intensity with intimacy. We get like those really like goo goo gaga, like, oh my God, like this is amazing. This is just going so well. I've seen this so many times where people are enamored in all like, oh my God, we had the most amazing time. Don't devalue that you had a good time. But when it's like overly up, like you probably got some uppers, it's feeling your inner child in a sense. It's just we need to level it out. How are you on a normal instance, a normal way, in a normal stance? And I know normal is a funky word. I don't want to misconstrue and say you're crazy or you're not normal. We all got a little bit of something, but don't confuse the intensity with intimacy. Okay. Like I said, certain actions and behaviors can really affect your feelings. And the last bullet point that I had, I basically covered. And that's how trauma can distort what love feels like. And to be honest, like it doesn't have to be something extreme like rape. It can be the fact that you didn't receive love from those that were supposed to love you. And because of that trauma, because of that experience, you don't know what love truly feels like, right? Like with me, I think I have thought that the only way to feel loved is if someone was using me, whether it was sexually or financially, like that's what it is, Have I experienced real love? Absolutely, 100%. Now, I'm not just talking about romantically. I'm talking about in friendships and other areas. Parental is tough, I'm still working on that. And I feel like I'm starting to receive some of those things and fill some of those holes. I can also be an example and have other resources that help me cope with those definitions and those areas of my walk in my life to feel those needs in regards to loving me and myself. But trauma can, and it will distort what love feels like and why you might be challenged with it, challenged in receiving it, knowing how to give it and gain it. Sometimes we don't chase love. We chase relief from loneliness. How real is that? Right? We just don't want to be alone. Ugh. I want to give you guys some practical takeaways, something that you can walk away with so that you don't feel like this episode was just a Debbie Downer, dragging you down and making you feel like you have to take a huge inward look at yourself because of this word love. But ask yourself, do I feel safe or just stimulated? Notice who shows up when you're not entertaining them. Measure love by consistency and not excitement. So if you can ask yourself these questions and something positive, hopefully some names come up when you think of those people. Start thinking about those people around you. Can they fill those blanks? Those could be people that you love or that love you, and you should invest in those relationships. Boom. How's everybody feeling? I know this is a lot. I did not think I was going to be talking about love. I ain't even good at it. Nah, I am. Some areas are stronger than others, right? But real love doesn't control you, it grows you. I want you to hear that. Real love doesn't control you, it grows you. And the more you understand love, the less you'll settle for substitutes. Bada bing. Yeah. So, in order to gain love, in order to receive love, in order to give love and get the love that you are hoping to acquire, you need to be able to understand it. Take the reins, take the bull by the horns. You might need a reset. You might need to dump out all the things that you thought about love and start over. Look at those areas in your life that were pivotal, that were monumental shifts that may have impacted or shifted the thoughts and ideals of love. Where did you see love in action? What were the highlights? What were the good? When you think about a loving relationship, who do you aspire to be like? Who are those individuals? What are they like? And what were the bad examples? And look, just because you see, posts online and you see this person going out for the anniversary and this vacation, look, those vacations are not a substitute for love either. Those people could be miserable and they're just acting out, for their followers to see and say, look, aren't we just so amazing? Hey, we're having another baby and we're so in love. I mean, they could be, but they also might not. You could assume that they might not be either. Think about love versus lust versus loneliness. Again, let's be real. Most of our decisions aren't driven by logic. They're driven by the need to feel loved, chosen, wanted, and seen. Somewhere along the way, we started to confuse love with all of those milestones that I mentioned, right? That sex, the marriage, the children, the gifts. Real love isn't adrenaline. Real love isn't performance. And just because bodies connect doesn't mean hearts did. Show up, be present. Love is present. Love listens. Love tells you truth even when it's uncomfortable. Do you have friends like that? Don't chase the substitutes. Stop misunderstanding what love is. Know what it is not. For thinking about love, love will build you up in the long term. Love actually feels totally safe. It is not chaotic. It does require patience and it sees the real you. Who is the real you? Have you been hiding? Lust, on the other hand, is that fast connection and low depth, driven by chemistry and fantasy. And this is where an area that I've been in a lot of times in parts of my life. It feels intense but fades quick and focused on what you can get out of it. And I've been here before too, and it's that loneliness. So loneliness will make you settle for attention. It creates urgency that is not real. It confuses the silence with rejection and pushes you to accept less than you deserve. And you deserve so much more. Give yourself some credit. Sometimes we don't fall in love. We fall into loneliness with company. And that's all I have for you guys today. I took a lot of notes for this episode. I just had so many thoughts and ideas for you all. And I think a lot of it was just turning the finger to myself because I have just felt so unloved in the last year. And I know that's not true in actuality. And it took some time for me to be vulnerable and put myself out there. And I'm not saying like you have to do to those extreme levels, but I was so greatly surprised and so thankful for so many of the voices that reached out to me by phone call, FaceTime, text messages, obviously DMs, even from strangers. Like it was just so powerful. I don't take that for granted. I didn't do that to seek validation and attention. I swear I didn't. I wanted to bring more attention to like the actual like cause at hand. And I just want to say I'm so loved and I'm so grateful that I'm so loved. And I'm going to be working so hard to actually love myself. I don't even want to recognize myself a year from now because I'm going to be so confident in that area that I'm not going to question it. I'm a great lover. I love people very hard and I deserve it back and I will and I do. I just got to start looking at it in the direction of those that choose to be a part of my life and want to love me and being a part of my life, and then get rid of those that just don't. I think that's one of my parts. I'm speaking it out right now. And that's because of the abandonment and rejection areas of my life. I never want anybody to feel those two things, but if people willingly don't want you, I mean, you gotta. I hope that this episode was healing and reflective for you. If you need to, listen to it again. Sometimes you have to listen to something 2 or 3 times before it really settles in. There's so much to cover here. I mean, we could talk about love so much longer, right? I hope that everyone listening feels loved. And if not, go get it and be it, embody it, and watch how it comes back tenfold. Guaranteed. And you might not be ready for those stages yet. So first, learn to love yourself. You got to learn to love yourself first before you can effectively love someone else. And that's in all areas of love. Don't bring anybody into your mess. Don't have children. Don't have friendships that you're going to destroy all because you don't even love yourself. There's so much. Find out those areas of your life in which you're not loving yourself. Is it the physical? Is it the mental? Is it the spiritual? Is it something that somebody said to you? There is something in you that has caused you to cuddle up in the corner because you don't love yourself and you need a hug. And I want to give you one so bad. So love yourself. Again, you've been watching the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast, where your trip ups are an opportunity for a comeback. And hopefully, if you haven't received that comeback yet, you are on your way to receiving it really soon. We host the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast weekly on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday at 7 a.m. is when episodes come out. But you can listen any day of the week by visiting any of the platforms where podcasts are available. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I've got a lot of really interesting people following me. Like I have John Cena. I have a couple like mayors following me too. Mayor of Baltimore, I think, follows me actually. Newscasters, news reporters. I mean, that's cool or whatever. But I'm also here for you all. So I want to know, have you been enjoying the show? Have you been sharing the show? What are some other topics that you want to hear and listen on the broadcast? What guests? Tag your guests that I should be reaching out to be on the show. I'm looking for exciting stories, and maybe they're simple stories of failures and comebacks. Everybody wants to know, and we have an opportunity to bolster that message, and it is valuable. We want to hear it. We need to know about it. I want to know about it. So, what are you waiting for? Hit me up. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day and have an awesome week. Until next time, I'm Nathan, host of Trip Ups and Triumphs.